Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Kabar from the GMS Virginia camp coming at you with another short lesson that I pray that you find edifying. So I grabbed this article out of Blacklisted News, and the title reads, "The next crisis is anyone's guess, but the government is ready to lock down the nation." So here it is. This devil, is planning on the next lockdown, where you Jakes is planning on the next, you Jakes are planning on the next Super Bowl season, not realizing that you're not in the season of mirth, and folly. These are some very serious times that you really need to be circumspect and aware of what time that you're in. But needless to say, a lot of you Jakes aren't even paying attention as to what's going on. Here it is. You acknowledge a National Hamburger Day, but you don't acknowledge Yahweh Yahweh Shai. You acknowledge Mother's Day, Father's Day, and all of these wicked folly days, but you don't acknowledge what's going on around you on a day-to-day basis, not realizing that you're being set up for the okie doke. So Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has his prophets out there on the highways and byways, to warn you of these things. The Lord has watchmen, upon the tower, to warn you ahead of time of what's coming. And what's about to come is another LD, and contrary to how a lot of you Jakes feel, it's going to happen. Why? Because, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai has given this devil, rulership of the earth right now, So I'm going to break out this scripture right quick, and I'm going to get into this article. And it's in the book of Luke, chapter 17 and verse 26. "As in the days of Noe, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, and they were given in marriage, until the day that Noe entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all." Although that happened back in the days of Noah, there is no new thing under the sun. It's going to happen again. A lot of you Jakes are complacent with what's going on in the world. What the scriptures say, the love of the world is enmity with the Most High. So a lot of you Jakes are into what's going on around the world. You're into your money, you're into your women, you're into your cars, you're into your Nikes, you're into your clothes, and all of these things are just vanity at the end of the day, because it will serve you no purpose, in the next kingdom to come, nor is it going to serve you in the days that are coming. So let me get into this article. As I read, the next crisis is anyone's guess. They know what the next crisis is because they set it up. The next crisis is your guess, but the government is ready to lock down the nation. So that title within itself is very misleading, because they know exactly what the next crisis is going to be, but they're making it seem as though they just don't know, but we're ready for whatever. So we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, and one of his devices is what you call a play on words. He's playing with words, to get you to think that he's innocent, and meanwhile, he's just as guilty. Well, not just as guilty, he is the guilty one. So going on with the article, and it reads, "The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed, hence clamorous to be led to safety, and endless series of hobgoblins, most of them imaginary, First came 9/11, which the government used to transform itself into a police state. So the writer already knows what what these devils do to implement laws and place themselves into deeper, higher levels of power. Okay. Then came C19, pandemic hit, which the police state used to test out its lockdown powers. And this just recently happened. You know, in light of the government's tendency to exploit a crisis, legitimate or manufactured, to capitalize on the nation's highlighted emotions, confusion, and fear as a means of extending the reach of the police state, one has to wonder what so called crisis will it declare next. It is a simple enough formula. First, you create fear, then you capitalize on the fear by seizing power. Frankly, it doesn't even matter what the nature of the next national emergency might be: terrorism, civil unrest, economic collapse, a health scare, or environmental. As long as it allows the government to lock down the nation and justify all manners of tyranny in in the so-called name of national security. So it doesn't matter what the situation is. This devil is prepared to lock down the nation, regardless to how simple the excuse is, or regardless of how simple the reason is, or how complex the reason is. This devil has things in place that will keep you in place. And it could be anything from robot dogs to surveillance cameras to thermo uh, and night vision and all of this other stuff. You, to keep a tight surveillance upon the people. You know, and let alone these Gurga troops and these military men roaming the streets. You know, here it is. Here it is. You Jakes are watching the news of all of these immigrants coming across the border, mingled with other nations, albeit African, Chinese, or whatever. But for some reason, you Jakes act like you don't even acknowledge that, you know, and it's crazy because you're being set up for the okie doke. As a matter of fact, let me get this scripture right quick because I just brought it out. The book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. So here it is, you're being compassed with armies. Up in New York right now, you have all these military age men, being swarmed into New York City right now, as well as other areas of the world, like Chicago and California and stuff like that. But nonetheless, you're being compassed with armies, to put your ass in place, you know, because when this next LD happens, you're not going to be roaming the streets freely the way that you do now. You're not going to be able to go down into your local grocery store and pick up what you want to pick up, because on top of the next LD, there's going to be a famine. And all it takes is to actually sit back and look at what happened over there in China, where where you know where they locked down the whole country of China, or you know they locked down China, and these people were screaming at the top of their, well, not screaming, they were wailing at the top of their lungs because they had no food. They couldn't get out. A lot of them were fucking going crazy, suicide rates, jumping out of windows and doing all types of crazy shit. you know and that was in China. What more here? The suicide rate over here in Babylon the Great is going through the roof. People are literally in despair, not not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go. The homeless rate is growing. The eviction rate is going through the roof. But yet and still, you Jakes, you know, it's amazing. Yeah, and still, you Jace can go to a fucking Beyonce concert and spend $4,000 or $5,000 just to see a fucking witch. It's just amazing to me. You can spend hundreds of dollars on football tickets and shit. You know, rather than have a have a vision of going buy some fucking rice because you see in the stores, the rice shortage is happening. So, in the days that are coming, during the next lockdown, it could very well be what you have in your refrigerator is what you have in your refrigerator. You know, because what it say in the book of Second Esdras. Hold on a second. Let me get the book of Second Esdras right quick, because what you have in your house could be all that you're left with. You know, so I wasn't planning on getting this, but through the spirit, I gotta get it. The book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, and and the book of Second Esdras, chapter 15, I start at verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And what's going to cause the people to do that? You know, the overall collapse of the governmental system. Because when these next LDs happen, these Egyptians ain't going for it. They're not going to tolerate another lockdown where they felt as though the first lockdown was bullshit. They're not going to tolerate the next one. So what you're going to have is Egyptian amongst Egyptian fighting against each other. And then from that, you're going to have a race war stemming. Then from that, you're going to have a total civil unrest stemming. And then you have these Gurkha troops and these military troops just roaming the street trying to bring law and order to a collapsed system. So just as in the days of Noah, all of these things are happening. The prophecies are being fulfilled, but a lot of you jigs just ain't paying attention. Your eyes are blinded, to what's going on around you. In verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. And that's going to stem from these lockdowns. You're going to want to try to go into another city, but you're not going to be able to. You're going to try to go and see your grandmother in the next town. You might not be able to. You might want to go over to a next state because the state that you're in is just in total anarchy. You might not be able to. You might want to go into another place where there's food and shelter. You might not be able to. So, you got to prepare yourself for that. And Jake ain't even preparing himself towards the basic things. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's what's coming. That's exactly that's exactly what's on the precipice right now. That's like right here, right in your face. And the government is prepared for whatever is whatever. The government is prepared to lock your ass down, regardless to what the next situation is. As I just read, it could be environmental, it could be civil, it could be economic, it could be whatever. These devils are prepared to lock your ass down. And a lot of jakes ain't even prepared to even deal with that. Reading on with the article. Terrorist attacks, mass shootings, it's a lot. Terrorist attacks, mass shootings, unforeseen economical collapse, and the economical collapse is foreseen. They're just trying not to panic people. Loss of loss of the functioning political and legal order. That's without a rule of law. Um, Purposeful domestic resistance or insurgency, pervasive pervasive public health emergencies, and catastrophic catastrophic national and human disasters. The government has been anticipating and preparing for such crises for years now. So the government is prepared for whatever. So if the government is prepared for whatever, why aren't you being prepared for getting your spirit right for what's coming? You know? Because quite honestly, the only way out of what's coming is through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. You know, because if the Lord ain't with you, in other words, if you ain't got that hedge about you, you're fucked. You're fucked. And a lot of people are just gonna be fucked. We know this, you know, because the scriptures tell us so. So, as in the days of Noah, there's gonna be a lot of people looking for the truth, looking for answers, you know, but it's gonna be too late, you know, because what did the Lord said, you know, hold on a second, let me get it. Salah. Salah. Let me get it. Let me get it. I don't want to butcher it. The book of Proverbs, chapter 1 and verse 28. Actually, let me see if I can start at 27. Actually, I'll start at 20. There's a lot of meat on this page. I'll start at verse 20. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. And that's what we're out there doing. We're uttering our voices in the streets, trying to warn you people to repent, turn back, because the days of evil are ahead. You know? The book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 22. For these are the days of vengeance, that all things which were written may be fulfilled. You're in that time. You know? So now is the time, to sit back and lollygag and think that you got time. Because quite honestly, you're almost out of time. You know? Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the opening of the gates, in the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simping ones, will ye love simplicity? And you jakes are just fucking simple. You're simple. You look at the prophets as if we're mad. You look at us as if we have no purpose. You look at us as though we're wasting our time, not realizing that the work that we do is from the Creator. How long will you simple ones will ye love simplicity? And scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. And you people scorn us, and you delight in in not knowing knowledge. You would rather go a day in your ignorance because you feel as though if you know something, then you'll be held responsible for it. You don't want the responsibility of trying to get right. You don't want the responsibility of repentance. And you jakes are going to be destroyed for that. Verse 23, turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. And that's what Yahweh Shem Yahushua has done to his prophets. And those who have the ears to hear can actually see what's coming on the horizon. They can actually discern the sign of the times. They could look up at the clouds and say, oh shit, it's going to rain. And then on top of that, there's a flood coming. Verse 24, because I have called and ye refuse. I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. And you're not regarding the words that are being spoken to you. You're not regarding these epistles. You're not regarding the truth. You're not regarding anything except yourself. Why? Because you rather live in your lust. You rather live in this abominable kingdom that's totally adverse unto Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. You're comfortable here. You Jakes have actually made this fucking place your refuge. You have actually made Babylon the Great your fortress. And you're going to pay for that. Because I have called and ye refuse. I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. And you Jakes ain't paying attention. You're not regarding the words that the prophets have been warning you about for decades. Because you actually don't think that what's about to happen is going to happen. Verse 25, but ye said at not all my counsel, and when none of my reproof. You don't even want to hear it. I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as a desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. And this is the point. Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For they have hated knowledge and did not choose to fear Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai. So, just as in the days of Noah, Noah was warning the people, hey, look, a flood's coming, and what were the people doing? They were mocking him. They were scoffing at him, they did all types of wicked shit, but did that stop Noah from doing what the Lord commanded him to do? Nope. No, Noah continued in the work. Why? Because Noah had faith, but the other people didn't have faith in what Noah was saying because it hadn't rained during that time, and the people just couldn't see it. So when that flood came, then they wanted, to get with Noah in his ark, but it was too late. Well, the same thing's about to happen now. As a matter of fact, let me grab that precept. Salah. I wasn't planning on getting this, this is through the Spirit. Salah. Let me see the book of Isaiah, chapter 59. Salah. I'll get right to the point. The book of Isaiah, chapter 59, and verse 19. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun, when the enemy should come in like a flood. And that's exactly what's about to happen, as in like in the days of Noah. When that flood hit the ark, or when that flood, started coming upon the people, at that time, then they wanted to get right. Then they wanted to seek Noah. Then they wanted to get into the ark. Then they wanted to do the right thing. But it was already too late because Yahweh Bashem Yahushua had sealed it. Read verse 19 again. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun, when the enemy shall come in like a flood. And who's that enemy that's coming in like a flood? Those are the enemies that's compassing Jerusalem right now, pursuant to Luke 21 and 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Although this happened back in 70 AD, just to qualify that, same thing's about to happen again. There's no new thing under the sun. This happened in 70 AD, and the same thing's about to happen again. The spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua shall lift up a standard against them. I mean, the flood's going to be so great that we're going to need protection because we have no standing army. We have no, cardinal means of protecting ourselves. Yeah, okay, you might have a pew or whatever, but that ain't shit. Literally, that ain't shit. So we're going to need that spiritual hedge about us that only Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai can give is elect men, women, and children, you know? So, hey, man, we're definitely in those times where a lot of people are being lulled back to sleep. We're definitely in a time where a lot of people just don't think anything's about to happen again. We're definitely in that time where this devil is about to pounce. He's about to pounce. He's about to do something. I don't know what it is, but through the spirit, we know it's going to be something. And a lot of you jakes are just going to be caught out there. A lot of you jakes are about to be caught out there as a thief in the night. You don't know when the thief is coming, but the, but this thief has actually scoped out your house. He scoped out what time you leave. He scoped out what time you come home. He scoped you out at the grocery store. He scoped you. He knows your pattern. This devil has done a diligent search on you, Jakes. So good that this motherfucker is actually offering 1 cent hamburgers and shit. Because he knows that a lot of you Jakes are gonna bite the fucking, opportunity to get at that. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're gonna have to use discernment. This devil hasn't given you anything ever at 1 cent. Now all of a sudden he's giving you some shit at 1 cent, and you, anyhow, I digress. But the point I'm trying to get at is we're definitely in those times where anything could pop off at any time, and you just got to be spiritually prepared for whatever. Not carnally prepared. You got to be spiritually prepared for whatever. And so with that, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makak Badash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Gabar from the GMS Virginia camp, signing out until the next lesson. Adawan Ratazah, Wa Shalom.